Welcome to our channel. Let's discuss the plot of the Banshees of Inisherin, at the tail end of the Irish Civil War in 1923. On the fictional Irish Isle of Inisherin, whose name literally translates as the Island of Ireland, folk musician Colm Doherty abruptly begins ignoring his lifelong best friend and drinking Buddy Porrick's Williabane. Porrick, though nice and respected by the islanders, is too dull for Colm, who wishes to spend the remainder of his life composing music and doing things for which he will be remembered. Porrick's life is ruined by the loss of his friend. As Porrick grows increasingly stressed by the rejection, Colm becomes more resistant to his old friend's attempts to make amends. Colm eventually gives Porrick an ultimatum: every time Porrick approaches him or tries to talk with him, Colm will cut off one of his own fingers. The local Garda, Pidar, beats his troubled son Dominic severely, and Porrick and his sister Siobhan take Dominic in for a short time. While delivering milk to the market, Porrick is insulted by Pidar and retaliates by making public the fact that Pidar abuses his son. Pidar punches him to the ground. Having witnessed this, Colm puts Porrick back in his wagon and drives him home. The two do not speak. Though Siobhan and Dominic attempt to defuse the pair's feud, their efforts prove useless. Porrick drunkenly confronts Colm in the pub over his lack of niceness, also chastising Pidar over the fact that he molests Dominic. Colm remarks that this is the most interesting Porrick has been, and mutters, "I think I like him again now." The next morning, not remembering what he has said, Porrick attempts to apologize to Colm, but the conversation goes badly and Colm responds by cutting off his left index finger and throwing it at Porrick's door. After Porrick sees Colm meeting with a fiddler from the mainland, Porrick tricks the fiddler into returning home by lying about his father being hit by a bread van. As the tensions worsen, local elder Mrs. McCormick warns Porrick that death will come to the island soon. Meanwhile, Siobhan sympathetically rejects Dominic's romantic advances. Porrick tells Dominic about what he did to the fiddler, and Dominic expresses his disappointment in Porrick's behavior. Porrick becomes convinced that this will make him interesting enough for Colm, and he visits Colm to confront him for being cold towards him. Colm reveals that he has finished composing his song, which he calls the Banshees of Inisherin. The two appear to be on the point of reconciling when, before leaving for the pub, Porrick mentions that he lied to the fiddler to get him off the island. Instead of meeting Porrick at the pub, Colm cuts off all four of his remaining left fingers and throws them at Porrick's door. Bored of life on the island, and disgusted by Porrick and Colm's feud, Siobhan moves to the mainland for a job in a library. Porrick comes home to find his pet donkey Jenny has choked on one of Colm's fingers and died. He tracks down Colm and tells him he will burn his house down the next day at 2 p.m., regardless of whether Colm is in it. The next day Porrick sets fire to Colm's house as promised. Porrick looks in a window and sees Colm calmly sitting inside the burning building. Porrick leaves, taking Colm's dog Sammy with him. Pidar goes to Porrick's house, but is led away by Mrs. McCormick, who takes him to Dominic's corpse floating in the nearby lake. The next morning, Porrick, with Sammy, finds Colm standing on the beach beside his burnt-out house. Colm apologizes for the donkey's death and suggests destroying the house has ended their war. But Porrick informs him that it only would have ended if he had stayed inside the house. When Colm wonders if the Civil War has ended, Porrick replies that he believes it may be a good thing that there are some things that cannot be moved on from. As Porrick turns to leave, Colm thanks him for looking after Sammy. Anytime, Porrick responds, unbeknownst to them, Mrs. McCormick is observing them from a distance by Colm's burned cottage.